بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليكم my beloved ones ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So we are going to continue the rules of Hajj. And we were discussing about the istita'a. We have a few rules left, and after that, we would continue. We would go to the next topic of manasik al-Hajj. So we're discussing about the concept of niyaba. Somebody must appoint. When should somebody must appoint? When all the conditions are available, except for the weakness of the body, then it becomes necessary. If he cannot go directly, then he should make sure that his Hajj is performed indirectly by appointing a representative. And appointing a representative is as instantaneous instantaneous as the instantaneousness of the obligation of the Hajj. And we had discussed this previously, that is the instantaneousness of the Hajj is religious obligation or intellectual obligation. Say the Sistani had chosen intellectual obligation, that once the Hajj becomes wajib, intellectually it becomes necessary on him to fulfill the wajib ASAP, as soon as possible. Some other scholars, they chose a religious obligation, and we had mentioned the difference between intellectual obligation and religious obligation. Intellectual obligation, if somebody goes against it, he will be considered a sinner. Religious obligation, and going against the intellectual obligation, we said he will be considered mutajarri. Mutajarri, like means he dared to go against. So he deserves to be punished. The sinner must be punished, will be punished. So that's the difference between going against religious obligation. A person is sinner and he will be punished. Going against the intellectual obligation, a person is not sinner. He is mutajarri. Is dared to go something which is intellectually necessary to be done, and and deserves to be punished, but there is no designated punishment against the one who violates the intellectual obligation. The punishment is there for someone who violates the religious obligation, but intellectual obligation, the consequences are that if he is punished, then he should not blame anyone except himself, because he dared to put himself into a punishment situation. So that is the bahth of tajarri in Hausa, that somebody dares to go against something which is necessary, and similarly against someone who goes against the obligatory precaution without referring to other marja. So he's considered mutajarri. So bahth of mutajarri is lengthy in ilm al-usul. Inshallah, in future, if we take advanced ilm al-usul, we will discuss this in detail. So at this point, we were discussing about the na'ib. So we did ruling number 64. If somebody was not able to either hajj al-na'ib, عمن لم يتمكن من المباشرة فمات المنوب عنه مع بقاء. We discussed this. We also discuss إذا لم يتمكن المعذور سقط الوجوب. Yeah, this one somehow there was a confusion even when the time was ending up. Maybe I did not mention the word mustaqar, so that's why there was a confusion. So let me just clarify this ruling again. Remember, there are two types of people who on whom Hajj is obligated. One is the one the Hajj is mustaqar upon them, who had an opportunity, did not go. Hajj is hanging on his head. So that is called Hajj mustaqar alayh. Hajj has been fixed. The obligation has been fixed. So even if he has to borrow money, loan, whatever, he has to go begging. just get some money and go for Hajj. That is called Hajj mutasakki'. Hajj mutasakki'. That is the mustaqir. The other part is that the Hajj was not mustaqir, but it became obligated this year upon him. So this is the first time he's facing the obligation. So there's a difference. If somebody, the Hajj is mustaqir, if he cannot go due to the excuse of health problems and whatsoever that kind of scenario where a person must appoint a representative, then the heir must perform qada. I think I forgot to mention mustaqir when I said if the Hajj was wajib on him, then will wujub mustaqir, and he did not find a representative and he died, then his heir needs to make up his qada because the Hajj was obligated upon him. That is mustaqir. This ruling here did not mention mustaqir. He says إذا لم يتمكن المعذور من الاستنابة سقط الوجوب. So one of the students say, you said that his heir needs to do. Yeah, if the Hajj was mustaqar. But if the Hajj was not mustaqar, it became activated this year. And he was not able to find a representative. So, saqat al-wujub, okay, the obligation befalls upon him. Is this clear? So if it was activated this year and he was not able to go, he was not able to find a representative, khalas. The heir, they don't need to make up the Hajj of the deceased. And here's what Sayyid says about mustaqar. ولكن يجب القضاء عنه بعد موته إن كان الحج مستقرا عليه. This is where someone got confused. Is it, you did not mention them. No, the one who needs to do, the heir needs to do his qada is the one who's mustaqar. This guy, this year the Hajj became activated upon him. So Hajj became activated means that he must perform it or his na'ib. So he was not able to appoint his na'ib and he died. Okay. Let's say he was going to appoint a representative. They found him someone spiritual and his salat is correct, his wudu is correct, and his everything is correct. And he said, MashaAllah. And he came out to be somebody hyperbolic, irfani. So once this guy was in his bed of disease or terminal case or something like that, he saw the glow on the face of this irfani bro and he got heart attack and died. He was not ever able to appoint him as a representative. Khalas, there's no, the obligation is dropped off his shoulder. So you see, he was not, but if it was Hajj, was mustaqir, we'll tell this guy, see, wait, our beloved one died, but still we want you, we heirs, we want you to do Hajj on his behalf because the Hajj was mustaqar on his shoulder long time ago. You see, so that's the difference between somebody whose the Hajj was mustaqar. It is necessary for the heir to do the Hajj on his behalf. If not mustaqar, wa illa lam yajib, which he mentioned here, إذا لم يتمكن المعذور من الاستنابة سقط الوجوب ولكن يجب القضاء عنه بعد موته إن كان الحج مستقرا عليه. وإلا, otherwise, it is not obligatory to do qada. ولو أمكنه الاستنابة. Now this is the second section. Here he was not able to do appoint a naib. Here he was, the guy came and he said that, inshallah, if you appoint me, I will go and do Hajj on your behalf. Okay. He was ready to appoint him. وَلَوْ أَمْكَنَهُ الْإِسْتِنَابَةِ وَلَمْ يَسْتَنِبْ حَتَّى مَاتَ وَجَبَ الْقَضَاءُ عَنْهُ. Now this is mustaqar. We said we have to do qada. But this segment is related to someone who on whom the Hajj was activated and not mustaqar. This year it became activated. That means this year the obligation became mature. So the maturity of the obligation happened. The activation of the obligation happened this year. He was able to appoint representative, and he did not. Then the heir needs to do qada. He was not able to appoint a representative. Finish. There's no qada. I hope this is clear. Number 66. إذا وجبت الاستنابة, we mentioned ولم يستنب. He did not appoint a naib, but somebody volunteered. ولكن تبرع متبرع عنه لم يجزئه ذلك ولزمته الاستنابة على الأحوط وجوبا. He went and did Hajj. He said, no, this is not sufficient. But I did Hajj on his behalf. Yes, but he needs to designate. He needs to have a role in the Hajj which you did. Did he appoint you? No. Then how can you do Hajj, an obligation, on behalf of someone without being an official representative of that person? So here, some scholars, they say, no, the whole idea is the Hajj was performed, so the Hajj is correct. Some scholars, they say, no, there was no designation for this volunteer on behalf of that person, so the Hajj is not correct. Now, Hajj has been offered, performed on his behalf. So Sayyidi Sistani Damadullahu has hesitation in this ruling. He can't swing this side and say, khalas, the Hajj has been done, finished. He can't swing on that side and say, no, the volunteer should be designated volunteer, not a self-volunteer. So in that limbo, he plugs the ruling with obligatory precaution, and that indicates the cautiousness of Sayyidi Sistani. Whenever, this is one of the beautiful things of our Maraja, you see, whenever they are doubting in the evidence, in the dalil, they will not dare to give a fatwa this way or that way. They will just use a precautionary. On the day of judgment, if Allah says, oh Sayyid Sistani, why did you give fatwa this way? Did you have evidence? No, ya Allah, it was a weak evidence. Then why did you give a fatwa? Then you know that whoever gives fatwa without knowledge should choose his place in hellfire. Why did you give fatwa? Okay. So either ways, if the mujtahid, if the marja is God cautious and he hesitates, he will not give a fatwa this side. Fatwa means verdict, Islamic law. He will not give fatwa that side. He will just take a precautionary measure and just plug it with obligatory precaution to his followers. Oh, my followers, I am hesitant. If you want, observe precaution with me. If you want to let this precaution go, find someone who had got clear indication that a precaution is not necessary and he is satisfied that the evidence is clear, then follow him. I give you permission, because this is not my fatwa. I've chosen the stance of precaution. I've chosen a precautionary measure, but you can follow someone else. Otherwise, if you want to remain with me, just follow my precaution. So this is the situation. The Hajj was done. Yes, but was he designated? So some scholars might say, yes, regardless of being designated, Hajj is accepted. Others might say, no, designated, not designated, as the person did Hajj on behalf of someone without being given the representation. How can, would you like somebody to buy a car on your behalf without you giving a representation? Oh no, I thought you wanted a car. I bought this on your behalf. Now pay me money. Money? Did I tell you to go and buy a car? No, you're praising this car and you felt and you showed us that you need this car. I said, let me go and voluntarily represent you and buy you a car. Intellectually, this is not accepted. You see? So a volunteer goes and performs an obligation on someone without being designated by him or by his heir, inheritors. okay, the inheritors, okay, intellectually, that is not acceptable. Other aspect, it's wajib. The main thing is that the wajib should be done, and the wajib was done. So some scholars, they say the wajib was done, finish. And this is a bahth of tariqi mawdu'i in ilm al-usul. Inshallah, you will study this in verses of law or in other sessions of ilm al-usul. I discussed this thoroughly, the difference between tariq and mawdu', obligation based on tariq, on the path. The main thing is the mean, or the main thing is the path. If the path is required, okay, then it should, then the person needs to designate the path. If the main, the end result is required, then the Hajj was done. So scholars, they have in moon sighting and other issues, the moon sighting method is required, obligatory, or the main result is required, that the month should be proven. So that is an argument between the fuqaha, that the method or the end result is wajib, because the hadith mentions the method. But does the hadith mention the method as a path to reach the conclusion, or no? The hadith is not interested in the path. The hadith is interested in the conclusion, regardless of the method. So here, some scholars, they say this is the argument where it comes here as well. Anyhow, inshallah, we'll discuss this tariq and mawdu' in future. But just to let you know that some scholars, they analyze this fatwa based on tariq and mawdu'. If the Hajj was required, then it was done. Then the volunteer did the job. But if the representation was required, then that kind of thing did not happen. Okay, that the path was required. And then ruling number 67, yakfil istinaba min al-miqat. Okay, so they said, do I have to appoint a representative from my hometown where I live, or no, it is sufficient, because sometimes it's cheaper to get someone pious from Medina and pay them the money of the expenses plus the money of their hard work which they do. By that representation, the people can also appoint someone from there or from the miqat. You see, let's say somebody did Hajj previously, okay, and he was going to do his Hajj mustahab, so he arrived on the miqat, and this guy calls him, see, I could not come for Hajj and this, and I became sick. Hajj is wajib upon me. So will you be able to do the Hajj for me? I'll pay you the expenses from the miqat, and also I'll pay you the hadiyah, the extra for your hard work. That's fine. That's fine. You don't have to send somebody from your hometown, and that's cheaper. That's why many people, they choose to appoint representative from the miqat. There's one of the brothers, he called me from Stockholm. He said, Sheikh, find me somebody to do Hajj on behalf of my father from there. I said, from there, I don't know that many people. From here, no, here people, they'll take the ticket. It's very costly. There, it's cheaper. So it will be easier for me to appoint a representative there. I said, okay, I'll see if I can find somebody, I will let you know. And the season passed, and unfortunately, I was not able to find someone there. Before, I knew a lot of people, but now, it has been a long time, 10, 20 years, I barely know people there. So anyhow, this is the Hajj from Medina or from inside Saudi Arabia, where they can go by car, and the Hajj expenses could be less, and the person would get also some hadiyah for themselves. So يكفي الاستنابة من الميقات ولا تجب الاستنابة من البلد. Appointing representative from your hometown is not obligatory. Now let's see. The ruling number 68 is divided into several segments. Now remember, again, let not this misconception or confusion be like it happened like in our previous session. So again, we have two types of Hajj this ruling is mentioning. One is man istaqarra alayhi al-Hajj, and then ma'adam al-istiqrar. You see, so here it's ma'adam al-istiqrar. Here it is man istaqarra. That means we are talking about somebody whom on his head the Hajj is floating long way ago, Okay, he needs to get it out. He needs to do whatever it takes to do Hajj. And then the second one is, no, it got just activated this year. So here we have someone who is going for Hajj. He entered the state of Ihram. The whole idea is, should we do qada or should we not do qada? Okay. The ruling is, when this person entered the state of Ihram and somehow he became so hyperbolically spiritualistic in a high state, and he got some kind of epiphany or something like that, and he got heart attack and died there. Okay. So what should happen here? Um, should the Hajj be done after him, or he's done with this Hajj? So we have two cases. So what's the scenario? A guy said, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, could not tolerate, died there. Now, some people, they ask me, why do you say like this kind of example, hyperbolic and this and that? I'll tell you why. So here we have, the name just was here and forgot. This mu'min, a guy, Amir al-Mu'minin's companion, Salamullah alayh. Okay. He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, describe me the mu'min. Now most of you know this hadith. Okay. So he said, you go, it's not your cup of cake to know about the detailed mu'min attributes and qualities. And he keeps insisting, Ya Amir al-Mu'min, describe who's the believer, Atad al-Mu'min, Sifli al-Mu'min, al-Muttaqeen, okay? Amir al-Mu'min tried his best to keep him away from opening this door. So, but he insisted, Amir al-Mu'minin Salamullah, open the faucet. Mu'min is this, Mu'min is, and that guy thought that he was Mu'min, maybe, perhaps. A mu'min is this, a mu'min is this, a mu'min is this. Okay. Once Amir al-Mu'min was done, فَشَهِقَ شَهْقَةً فَمَاتٍ. He took a sigh, deep sigh, and whoop, died there. Because oh my goodness, and all the time I've been thinking, I'm a mu'min. This is a mu'min. Could not handle it. Okay, this is when I say some type of irfanism causes people to die because of the awe and shock of the reality of irfanism and those kind of things. Okay, you might end up into this this situation like Hammam. I think it was Hammam, or one of the companions, not Hammam, as one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'minin Salamullah alayh. So that is why when I say somebody said Labbaik and died there, he must be in a very godly, connected, spiritually attached to Allah. And that state of Ihram is a really, if you really enter the state of Ihram properly, you will feel that kind of awe and you will cry, the tears will come out. Those people who have some kind of state of irfan, they might not handle it and they might die there. So when I'm telling you, it's not something, I'm just trying to take that hadith of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam and trying to put it into context of, because these stages of Hajj, stages of Ihram and Hajj, these are not simple stages. If later on, I'll tell you, go and look into the hadith of Shibli and look how Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam shows him how to do the Hajj externally and internally. Most of the people who come back alive, they do more, not all, they do Hajj externally. But when people, they do internal Hajj and they feel that awe and bond of connection with God, rarely they might become like this Hammam, okay, and die on the spot. Rahmatullah alayh. So here, what happens? So this mu'min, he came and he entered the state of Ihram and Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, and khalas, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Can happen or not? Yes, it can happen. It happened or not? Previously, it happened. Were they hyperbolic, irfani? God knows better, best. I'm saying, yeah, there might be some spiritual reasons or there might be no health conditions. Due to some health conditions, they died. You see, disease, sickness, whatever. God loved them. God called them, okay, you are my guest, come directly. You don't have to spend the time in dunya anymore. Khalas, come to me. It's Allah's call. This labbaik happened, double labbaik. Labbaik on the Hajj and labbaik going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What a beautiful moment. Pure labbaik. So this is the ruling which says that. Let's go and see the hyperbolic conditions here. Man istaqarra alayhi al-hajj. Now we are talking about which type? The one who the hajj is hitting on his head. Perform. You have not performed long time ago. It's so إذا مات بعد الإحرام للحج في الحرم. Okay, where do we enter the state of ihram of hajj? From inside the, remember we go as an umrah al-tamattu. Okay, so we do ihram, but we are on the miqat. We said labbaik. Okay, after the ihram we enter Makkah, and Makkah is haram. So ba'd al-ihram lil-hajj. Now here the word hajj has been used, not umrah. So Sayyid Muhammad Sistani, son of Sayyid Sistani, he clarified this is inclusive to the ihram of umrah, because umrah at-tamattu is part of hajj. So when Sayyid Sistani says la madallu al-ihram lil-hajj, it means ihram lil-umrah for hajj, the umrah at-tamattu fil hajj and ihram of hajj, because we have two ihram in the whole manasik al-hajj. Okay, so he died in the haram. أجزأه عن حجة الإسلام. It would be sufficient for him for Hajj al-Islam. So that means we don't need to do anything qada or anything after him. Khalas, his Hajj is done. But he did not do the rituals of Manasik al-Hajj. Finish. Done. God has pulled him not to his house, to his house in the Bayt al-Ma'mur. سواء في ذلك حج التمتع. Be it Hajj al-Tamattu or Hajj al-Qiran. Remember, a Qiran means associating your goat of sacrifice, like your body is with you in the Hajj. So when you go fly in the airplane, your sheep is sitting beside you, and oh, what is that? But he doesn't know that on 10th Hajj is going to be sacrificed. So he's my sacrifice. So nowadays, I mean, obviously, but those days when they used to do Hajj al-Qiran, they used to bring their sheep with them. Okay, and they used to hang a slipper or some kind of sign that this is the goat of sacrifice. So the Hajj will enjoy the tawaf and everything, because he could not keep it here and there. It could be stolen. And then finally gone on the day of Hajj after making that goat spiritually connected, sacrifice. Well, ifrad, and this Qiran and ifrad, we said these are for the local people, Meccan people. Ifrad is where the Umrah is not attached with Hajj. For us, we live far away. Umrah is attached with Hajj. So that is why we said, if you do Hajj, your Umrah befalls. But if you have not done Hajj and you cannot do Hajj and can do Umrah, then you have to do Umrah. وَإِذَا كَانَ مَوْتُهُ فِي أَثْنَاءِ عُمْرَةِ التَّمَتُّعِ أَجْزَوْ عَنْ حَجِّهِ أَيْضًا. And if his ihram was during the Umrah al-Tamattu. What does that mean? That means same. After you say labbaik, Umrah al-Tamattu starts, and you are in haram. So whenever you're in the tawaf, in the sa'i, in the salat, okay, you went on Safa and Marwa and you could not tolerate the walk. Heart attack, died. I did not say hyperbolic irfani here, okay? He died. Khalas. So it's done. So أجزاء عن حجه أيضا. ولا يجب القضاء عنه. It is not obligatory to make up on his behalf. No qada needed. وإن مات قبل ذلك وجب القضاء عنه. قبل ذلك, before that. What is before that? We had mentioned بعد الإحرام, okay, in haram. Two conditions. He entered the ihram and he was inside the haram. So if he entered the state of ihram, labbaik, but he was not in the haram, we need to do qada. Why qada? Because the hajj was istaqarra. Remember, we are talking about the one istaqarra. The air needs to do qada. Okay? So, or he was in the haram, but he did not accidentally, he did not do ihram again. So these two conditions are important. After these two conditions, his Hajj is okay. I mean, he doesn't need to do Hajj. The heir do not need to do qada for him. Why? Because he had done ihram, state of ihram, and he was inside haram. The haram is a border where Arafat and Muzdalifah and all these places are there. Haram is not Makkah. Haram is the border of Makkah. The border of Makkah, which is sacred border, a sacred land, haram. So if you enter the haram, like there are places, I'm sorry. Arafat is not from the haram. Muzdalifah is from the haram. Muzdalifah, Mina. So there's a border around Makkah. So Makkah and its vicinity, certain vicinity, they're all in haram. It's not the Kaaba only. So if you are coming from north, south, east, west, you had entered the state of ihram in your miqat, you entered the haram from the awe or from the exhausted, heart attack, died, God forbid. Okay. So this person died, khalas. He was in the ihram and he entered the limits of haram. But here, see, this Sistani now giving us a second where before that means before entering the state of ihram or before entering the haram. So he was in the state of ihram. He did ihram in Jeddah by nadhr. We're going to discuss about that. But Jeddah airport, you see, somehow he got exhausted, tired out of long travel coming from Australia or coming from Buenos Aires, from South America, whatever. And the food was poisoned in the plane or whatsoever. He arrived Jeddah, he said, Labbaik, Jeddah airport, and died there. So he entered the ihram, but did not enter haram. Okay? Or he entered the haram accidentally and had forgotten to do ihram. So these two conditions were not there. I hope you remember these two conditions. Okay? So, وَإِن مَاتَ قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ وَجَبَ الْقَضَاءُ عَنْهُ. If he dies before that what? Before those two things, then it will be obligatory to make up on his behalf, qada. وَإِن كَانَ مَوْتُهُ بَعْدَ الْإِحْرَامِ وَقَبْلَ دُخُولِ الْحَرَمِ أو بعد دخول في الحرم من دون إحرام. So even if his death was after ihram, before entering the haram, or after entering the haram accidentally without state of ihram. So in these cases, this person is the Hajj is not going to be sufficient. His heir need to do qada. Okay, is it for all types of Hajj or only for Hajjat al-Islam, first timer, the first Hajjah, the first Hajjar or Hajj for first timer? Okay, وَالظَّاهِرِ. See, this Sistani Damodullah says, apparently, اختصاص الحكم بحجة الإسلام. This rule of entering after entering the haram and after entering the state of ihram and in the haram, this is specific for Hajjat al-Islam. What does that mean? That means any other Hajj, nadhr, he died. No, his nadhr is not fulfilled. Okay. Umrah Mufrada, he died after entering the haram, not sufficient. Okay, if the Umrah Mufrada was wajib, then his heir needs to make up that Umrah Mufrada. Okay, so all these things, he says that, or someone, you see, he went for Hajj, he was in the state of ihram, and whoopsie daisy, he missed his wife and he did something where his Hajj became invalid. He needs to slaughter a camel. Okay, that's why we say keep yourself away from the camels. And then he has to repeat the Hajj next year as an obligation, even if he was not able to. Hajj istaqarra alayhi. Istaqarra alayhi kayf? How? Bil ifsad, by invalidation of the Hajj. And one of the reasons of invalidation is having private relations with his wife in the state of ihram, and slaughter the camel, complete this Hajj, and repeat the Hajj. Okay? Why can't you tolerate, observe patience? This much shaitan is in your mind, in your brain. والظاهر اختصاص الحكم بحجة الإسلام فلا يجري في الحج الواجب بالنذر. This rule is not applicable for the Hajj obligated by vow or بالإفساد or by invalidation. بل لا يجري في العمرة المفردة أيضا. So more than that, even in the Umrah Mufrada, it is not applicable. Even if it was a first Umrah, obligatory Umrah he's doing, no. فلا يحكم بالإجزاء في شيء من ذلك. So if it was obligatory, then the heir, they need to redo the Hajj, or they need to appoint someone or do on his behalf, on the behalf of the marhum. So this was for who? The one whose upon him Hajj was mustaqar. Now remember, we are going to talk about the one on whom Hajj was not mustaqar. The one on whom the Hajj was mustaqar after entering the state of Ihram and entering in the Haram, khalas, finished. Before that, the heir, they need to do qada. Let's see someone on whom the Hajj was activated this year and not mustaqar from previously. وَمَنْ مَاتَ بَعْدَ الْإِحْرَامِ مَعَ عَدَمِ اسْتِقْرَارِ الْحَجِّ عَلَيْهِ. And whoever dies after entering the state of Ihram with not having the Hajj fixed upon him from the past, فَإِنْ كَانَ مَوْتُهُ بَعْدَ دُخُولِ الْحَرَمِ. And therefore, if his death was after entering the Haram, so state of Ihram, and entering the state of Ihram, فَلَا إِشْكَالَ فِي إِجْزَائِهِ عَنْ حِجَّةِ الْإِسْلَامِ. There is no doubt, there is no problem, that there is, without any doubt, it is sufficient for Hajj al-Islam, his first Hajj. So that is same like that. But what if it was before entering the state of Ihram and before entering the Haram? Will it be like the heir, they need to do qada? وَأَمَّا إِذَا كَانَ قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ. And if it was before that means, in parentheses, we can write before entering the state of Ihram or before entering the Haram, before entering the state of Ihram and before entering the Haram. فَالظَّاهِرْ عَدَمُ وُجُوبِ الْقَضَاءِ عَنْهُ. Apparently, there is no obligation to do qada on his behalf. Finish. So see, the difference comes here. Okay, please do not get confused. The ruling is similar for both cases. Where it differs before entering the state of Ihram and before entering the Haram. The one whose Hajj was mustaqar alayh, he needs to redo. The heir needs to, the inheritors needs to do the Hajj qada on his behalf. But if somebody on whom the Hajj was activated first timer, no, the heir, they don't need to do qada on his behalf. That's the key difference between two states. Ruling number 69, al-kafir al-mustati' yajib ala al-hajj. Kafir, the disbeliever, the one who is not obligated to perform the Hajj. It is obligated upon him. If he becomes able to perform Hajj, then Hajj is wajib upon him. وَإِن لَمْ يَصُحْ مِنْهُ. Even if it was not valid from him, مَا دَامَ كَافِرًا, as long as he's in the state of disbelief. وَلَوْ زَالَتْ إِسْتِطَاعَتُهُ ثُمَّ أَسْلَمَ لَمْ يَجِبْ عَلَيْهِ. So if his ability to perform Hajj in the state of disbelief, he had $10,000. He embraced Islam and he lost his $10,000. So he says it's not wajib upon him. It's not like it was on his head. So now here there is an argument. Number one, you guys say that a Muslim cannot enter the Haram, correct? Allah says, إِنَّمَا الْمُشْرِكُونَ نَجَسٌ فَلَا يَدْخُلُوا بَعْدَ عَامِهِمْ هَذَا فِي الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. Okay. And here say this Sistani says kafir, the one who is able to, must perform the Hajj. Okay. So here we have several arguments. Kafir is not a Muslim. Is he obligated to perform Hajj? He's not obligated to perform Salat. Why is he obligated to perform Hajj? This, think about it. Inshallah, tomorrow night, when we meet, we will discuss further on this ruling. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. والسلام عليكم